Abraham, the Friend of God, written and narrated by Hakworay. There was once a great man named Abraham, who was a friend to the Almighty God. Before his name was called Abraham, it was Abram, which means exalted father. He lived with his family in Ur of the Chaldees. One day, God appeared unto him and said, "Leave this land and your father's house, and go into a land that I will show you. And I will make you a great nation, and I will bless you. Your name will be great. Everyone that blesses you will be blessed, and everyone that curses you will be cursed. In you, all the families of the earth will be blessed." Because Abram had faith in God, Abram left, as God had commanded him, leaving behind a family and culture that he was familiar with, to go to a place that he didn't know. He took with him his nephew Lot. When Abram arrived in Canaan land, God appeared unto him and told him, "I will give your descendants this land." At this time, Abram and Sarai his wife didn't have any children of their own. It came to pass that Abram and his nephew Lot had to separate because of the troubles between the herdmen of Abram and the herdmen of Lot. Lot chose the land of Sodom and Gomorrah because it looked good for raising his cattle. But the people of Sodom and Gomorrah were wicked. After Lot left, God appeared to Abram and told him that he will give him all the land that he sees, and that he will make his seed as the dust of the earth. After some time, Lot and his household were taken captive by one of the kings that came to fight against Sodom and Gomorrah. When Abram heard about it, he gathered his trained men that he had and went out and rescued his nephew and his household. Abram had great influence on the people that he came into contact with, so it was easy for them to go with him to rescue his nephew. He also got back all the things that were taken from Lot. One day, God appeared unto Abram and said unto him, "Don't be afraid, Abram. Your blessings will be great." But Abram said, "What will you give me, seeing I don't have children? The person that will inherit all that I have is my servant Eliezer." But God said to him, "He will not inherit all that you have. Your seed will be as the stars in the heaven." That day, the Most High made a covenant with Abram. Now Sarai, Abram's wife, whose name means princess, had no children for Abram. So she gave him her handmaid Hagar as a wife. And Sarai said to him, "Take her and have children with her." Sarai deeply loved her husband Abram, and she so desperately wanted him to have children of his own. So Abram took Hagar, and she bore Abram a son that she called Ishmael. When Abram was 99 years old, God changed his name from Abram to Abraham. God told him that he will be a father of many nations, and that he will have kings. God also told him that the covenant that they made would be everlasting. He also said that all men shall be circumcised to be in the covenant. The male child must be circumcised at 8 days old. So Abram obeyed God and circumcised himself, his son Ishmael, and all his male servants. Then God said to Abraham, "Your wife's name will be Sarah from now on. She will be a mother of many nations." And Abraham laughed to himself. He thought that they were too old to have children. They thought that Ishmael should be the one to inherit the blessing. But God told them that they will have a son the next year. One day, 3 men appeared unto Abraham as he was sitting at his tent door. He ran out to meet them, and Abraham showed his hospitality by offering to wash their feet and having a meal with him before going their way. He told his wife to make some cakes and his servants to prepare a calf. He made sure that the men were satisfied and comfortable. After eating their meal, he asked Abraham about his wife Sarah and told him that Sarah would have a child the following year. But Sarah laughed at herself because she thought that she was too old to bear a son. She forgot that God can do anything that seems impossible. So the following year, Sarah did have a son, as God had promised, and they called his name Yitzchak, meaning laughter. One day, God decided to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah for their wickedness. But he saved Lot and his daughters because of Abraham. God blessed Abraham with great wealth and lots of servants. One day, God decided to test Abraham. He told him to take his son Yitzchak to a mountain that he will show him and sacrifice his only son. The next day, Abraham and Yitzchak woke up early and headed to the mountain. Abraham built an altar and tied his beloved son to it. Then Abraham took a knife and was about to kill his son when God called out to him, "Don't kill your son. You are a God-fearing man." So Abraham took Yitzchak from off the altar and offered a lamb that God had prepared for him. And it came to pass that Abraham's wife Sarah died, and he buried her in a cave that he bought, even though the men of the land wanted to give it to him for free. When Yitzchak was grown, Abraham called Eliezer his servant and said to him, "I want you to go to the country of my family and bring back a wife for my son Yitzchak. I don't want him to marry any of the daughters of this land." So Eliezer swore to Abraham that he would do just that. Abraham sent him with lots of presents to give to his relatives. Abraham trusted his servant with all his wealth. On his way to the family of Abraham, Eliezer prayed to God, asking him to bless his journey. And God answered his prayer. He met Rebekah, who was fetching water for her family. After speaking with her, he found out that she was family to Abraham. Rebekah then took him to meet the rest of the family. Before eating any of the food that they had prepared for him, he told them the reason for his visit. He also gave them the presents that Abraham sent. Rebekah's family asked her if she wanted to go, and she said yes. So they sent Rebekah to be the wife of Yitzchak. Abraham took another wife, whose name was Keturah. She had 6 sons for him, and he gave some of his riches to his sons and sent them away, except Yitzchak. He stayed with his father Abraham, and Abraham gave him most of what he had. Then Abraham died. He was 175 years old, and his sons came and buried him in the cave of Machpelah, the same cave that Sarah, his wife, was buried.